Thank you very much for coming despite our last-minute convocation. So we would now like to start Hitachi briefing on the revision of consolidated financial forecast and the settlement in the South African project. First, let me introduce the presenters. Representative Executive Officer, Mr. Toshikazu Nishino. Representative Executive Officer and CFO, Mr. Mitsuaki Nishiyama. So first of all, regarding the South African project, Mr. Nishino will explain. This is Nishino, Executive Vice President and Executive Officer. Thank you very much for this last-minute notice, and thank you for attending at this late hour of the day. So we made three main announcements regarding the tender of shares of Hitachi Chemical in tender offer and the transfer of the diagnostic imaging-related business area. They are decided to promote the selection and concentration of Hitachi Group businesses even further and focus on the digital solutions centering on Lumada so that we can accelerate the transformation to become the global leader in the social innovation business that we are aiming for in our medium-term management plan 2021. So these two, we do not have the press conference, but have the news release from related companies. So please take a look. Now, in this briefing, as I mentioned at the outset, we will talk about the settlement with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, MHI, regarding the boiler construction projects in the Republic of South Africa. Until now, we have caused concerns among the stakeholders, including our shareholders. But both parties have continued sincere discussions, and we came to an amicable settlement with agreeable conditions. The content of the settlement is listed in the press release. Hitachi will transfer 35% of MHPS shares to MHI, and Hitachi will pay settlement money to MHI. These 2 points. The financial impact regarding this settlement will be explained from our CFO Nishiyama later on. With this settlement, Hitachi will withdraw from the management of MHPS. And as a result, MHPS will become a wholly owned subsidiary of MHI. So the ownership will change, but the already constructed thermal power plants and the maintenance services will be continued with collaboration with MHI to contribute to our customers. In Hitachi's energy business, in the energy sector, Hitachi is preparing for the acquisition. We will acquire the ABB's world-class power grid business. And by combining it with Hitachi's digital technology, which is our strength, Hitachi will provide high value-added energy solutions globally. In addition, the renewable energy, zero carbon, the eco-friendly and nuclear energy and distributed power supply. Hitachi will contribute to the stabilization of energy supply and realization of decarbonized society by accelerating the expansion of energy solutions. Next, the financial impact from this settlement and Hitachi Chemical TOB will be explained, including the revision of the consolidated financial results. Mr. Nishiyama will explain.
This is Nishiyama speaking. I would like to talk about the focus for fiscal year 2019. Please refer to page 2 of the PowerPoint material. Page number 2 it should be referred to. As given in the press release today, we have had the settlement of the South Africa project, as well as regarding the tender of the shares of Hitachi Chemicals. We have decided to revise the forecast for fiscal 2019. The last forecast was given on the 30th of October. We will be revising these numbers. Please refer to the third line. EBIT line should be referred to. For the third quarter in the South Africa project, settlement loss of 378 billion non-operating loss will be posted in the fourth quarter. The Hitachi Chemicals proceeds for sales of 278 billion yen non-operating profit will be posted. As a result, EBIT will be reduced by 100 billion yen from the last forecast to 505 billion yen. For the net income attributable to the Hitachi stockholders, the impact of the settlement of South Africa project is minus 338 billion yen. Hitachi Chemicals sales impact is 158 billion yen. The tax effect 30 billion at the end of fiscal year means that it will be reduced by 190 billion yen to 170 billion yen in terms of net income. Now, regarding the operating profit, it has not changed from the 685 billion that has been announced in October. Now, regarding the company split related to diagnostic imaging related business will not have an impact for 2019, although it will have an impact of 111 billion yen in 2020. I would like to give you the explanation regarding South Africa project. To MHI, the settlement money will be 200 billion yen, and 70 billion will be subtracted because of the credit transferred to MHI, which means that 130 billion yen will be paid in March. Furthermore, regarding the shares held by Hitachi in MHPS will be transferred to MHI in the first half of 2020 after the clearance is given by the antitrust authorities of the relevant countries. As a result, we will be posting 248 billion yen in the third quarter of 2019. And as a result, we will be posting 378 billion yen loss in the third quarter as an impact of this matter. For free cash flow, the payment outflow will be 130 billion yen. When the transfer of shares of MHPS is completed in 2020, the tax loss will also be fixed. And the corporate tax for 2020 will be reduced by 109 billion yen. Therefore, the accumulated impact on net income attributable to Hitachi stockholders for 2019 and 2020 will be minus 269 billion yen. In terms of the free cash flow for this year, there will be outflow of 130 billion yen. However, as I already mentioned, the corporate tax will be reduced by 109 billion in 2020. Therefore, when the payment of tax is made in 2021, it will be subtracted. Therefore, in terms of free cash flow for 2019 and 2020, the outflow will be 21 billion yen. I will now like to refer to the impact of the tender of shares of Hitachi Chemicals. When the TOB is completed in the fourth quarter of 2019, the sales proceeds will be 495 billion yen. The proceeds minus book value of 278 billion yen. And the impact will so the amount will be 278 billion yen, and the impact on net income will be at subtracting 120 billion yen in terms of corporate tax, amounting to 158 billion yen. Free cash flow for 2019 will be plus 422 billion yen. For fiscal year 19 and 20, 302 billion cash inflow is expected. In terms of the challenge besetting our company, we have been recognizing EPC projects of the past, inclusive of the South Africa project. Now we have withdrawn from the overseas EPC projects, and last fiscal year we have frozen the nuclear project of Horizon in the UK. And the only remaining project was the South Africa project. With the settlement reached today, we will be revising downward the forecast for 2019. However, the risk relating to major EPC projects will now be behind us. And with the minimum cash outflow, we have been able to resolve this issue. Therefore, the cash outflow impact on the 2021 midterm management plan is very limited. Therefore, we will continue to make investment in our business, inclusive of M&A, and have stable shareholder returns. This policy will remain intact. We will continue to work hard to achieve the objectives of the 2021 midterm management plan and implement the strategies accordingly. Thank you very much.
Now we will start the Q&A session. Any questions? The front row to the end, please. Question. So your LP business, so you will do the existing thermal power plant maintenance. So is there a delineation with what you do? And the other is the nuclear power business. MHPS, turbine, generator were equipped in some of them. So for the nuclear power business, is there an impact? Answer. So in terms of maintenance, there are areas that Hitachi is strong in and where MHI is strong at. So Hitachi subsidiary called Hitachi Power has been doing this, and this will remain unchanged. So what I mentioned earlier is MHI and MHPS, and we executives have already agreed on. And MHPS probably said the same thing. The framework will not change. The capital will transfer and ownership will change. But from the customer's point of view, it will not change from customer's viewpoint. Now, nuclear. Nuclear is similar to thermal power and is done in similar locations. But same story. It's just the ownership transfer. So on the actual site, frontline, nothing will change. The investment situation, more money is now flowing into renewables. So the structural reform will be necessary accordingly. But regarding the capital transfer this time, will not have a change in the supply chain in the nuclear. Any other questions?
Next question, please. Question. With respect to MHI, at the press conference they had, they said that the amount is 550 billion was recognized, and they are able to also post a profit from this transaction. But according to Hitachi's numbers, there is a difference, and the question was posed accordingly. And it was said that they have not tried to align the numbers, but it's minus 248 billion for MHPS is subject to valuation loss. That is probably why it looks smaller. That was the response from MHI. Please confirm. Now, as I explained earlier, this amount of 248 billion of the breakdown will be provided. Let me give you the breakdown. MHPS, the equity method stake is 280. And for the credit is 70 billion, and for MHPS is 283 billion, and the provisions reversal was 105 billion, and the net thereof was 248 billion yen. Thank you.
Any other questions? The gentleman next. Question. MHPS. Why at this timing did you come to a settlement? If you could elaborate. You've been disputing for a few years, so maybe you could have waited for the arbitration. And the amount from MHI, they are not incurring much loss, but Hitachi, it will be an extraordinary loss of 378 billion. So it may be more beneficial to MHI. So could you elaborate on the timing and the amount? Answer. Thank you for the question. In one word, MHPS, I was involved when MHPS was established. When this company was established, the two large plants were still in the initial construction stage, so we did not know what trajectory it will go through. It was not clear which path we will go through till completion. So our path that we thought and MHI's path was before the construction. So there were many possibilities and many factors, and we were discussing at that initial stage. And so when there was a diversion, we did not have a clear path to resolve them. And the plant construction progressed, and Meripik and Kurikesh. Meripik has 3 big boilers and generating power, and Kushire stopped and operated, but 3 already generate power, and the other 3, the customers wanted to go slow. So we say mechanical. In terms of the progress, one was already 99%, the other was 95%. So in terms of cost, it became easier to come to an agreement, come to the same understanding, and therefore it took much time and it caused you a lot of concerns and inconvenience, but it was about negotiation and we could not be too specific. But depending on we had less diversions from both sides, and that's why we came to this decision. And yes, there was arbitration. And with many people's support, we were progressing with the arbitration. And this is often the case. The arbitration progresses at the same time we look for a compromise. And it took a little time to find the compromise. That's why it took this long. But we wanted to come to a compromise from a while ago. And from customers' point of view, from shareholders' point of view, they were always asking us where we were. So my answer to your question is, yes, arbitration was necessary. So that was underway. But at this timing, when arbitration seemed to look longer, we came to an agreement. So that's the big reason. What about the question, the amount? So initially it was 770 billion, MHI said. And you said it could be a little lower, so a little over 500 billion yen. But it seems like Hitachi bore shouldered almost all the amount. So how can I understand this difference of 100 billion? Answer. This settlement value, there's no winner or loser. This was rational, reasonable for both sides. We came to an agreement that is reasonable for both sides. So for us, it's a cash out, direct cash out of 130 billion yen, which is a minimum amount. And for our cash plan in the medium-term management plan, the impact is minimal. And for MHI and for us, this is the optimal portfolio. We came to a solution that is most optimal for our portfolio. Thank you.
じゃあこちらの前の方お願いします。
Question. At the time of integration of MHPS, it was going to be number one thermal power plant business in the world with revenues of 2 trillion yen in 20. But now you're withdrawing from the construction of a thermal power plant. What is your impression of this decision? Nishino-san, please. Answer. This integration was necessary. And the management environment at that time means that it was a success. There was the turbine business as well as a boiler business. In terms of the turbine business, we are world-class, compete in terms of competition. This has been announced by MHPS. For larger turbines, we have been maintaining the top share in the world. In Japan, the energy requirement necessitated such an integration. But EPC business has its own difficulties and challenges. And the decarbonization is being called for. It is not going to become zero carbon immediately, but with the lower use of carbon, the lives of people must be maintained. So we have to make sure that technology be provided which has less CO2 emissions. Even though it's thermal power plant, it is lowest CO2 emissions in the world, and it is very efficient in terms of the gas turbines. Therefore, our answer is that taking into consideration the management environment of that time, integration was the right thing to do. And I think we have been successful. But thereafter, discussions were required in other matters. That is the theme that we are discussing today. The difficulty of the EPC has come to the fore, and that is one point to consider. And furthermore, MHI's President mentioned that decarbonization is becoming very important. This is also a major theme for MHI as well. Therefore, the management environment for energy is changing. We have to correspond and meet these new challenges. That is also calling for a new reform in the management of this business. Looking back, it was the right thing to do. And we believe that good results have been obtained through this business.
Any other questions? Question. I have two main questions. First is for clarification. You mentioned regarding the nuclear decarbonization is one trend. So you will continue this? Am I correct? Answer. Well, the earlier question was if the nuclear supply chain is okay, and I answered it's okay. For the nuclear business, Hitachi's thinking, I will briefly explain. For Japan, resumption and decommission and the resumption of and the reconstruction of Fukushima. So that remains unchanged. And we have been preparing for that. And just 1 year ago, Horizon was reported. There's nothing to report today exactly for that reason, because there's no change. No change. So there's nothing to report. But as been mentioned, the general election just ended. So new policy may come out. But as of today, there is no change that we need to communicate to you. Question. You mentioned selection and concentration. So the three announcements will be the reorganization in that aspect. So enhancement of Lumada, M&A is not included. So right now you are trying to build up your physical capability to reorganize, put things in perspective. Is that where you are right now? Answer. Difficult question. So I think you're asking whether we're preparing for something, but nothing we could share with you today, like I say always. But you're right. We're thinking of many options and trying many things, but there's nothing I can say today, that's all. And I mentioned two businesses will be brought outside of the group. As President Higashihara always says, in Hitachi, we are thinking of building a big business under Lumada or collaborating with other parties and combining with others' assets to enhance the business. We are trying to think which is better. So it's not whether it's important for Hitachi or not. It's a different way of development. It's important for society, but Hitachi has chosen Lumada. So is it better to utilize Lumada, or is it better for other companies to do it with their management asset? That's the difference. Question. So you are reorganizing right now, and you are trying to go for the right option. But now you are trying to enhance Lumada 2 trillion, 2.5 trillion industry, and IT will be enhanced. So you are working on this behind the scene, but you will accelerate? Answer. I think my answer will be the same. Thank you for that question, though. I appreciate it. But we are working on many things. But I'm sorry, that's all I can say. Thank you very much.
ございませんでしょうか。じゃあこちら真ん中の。
Any other questions? Question. Perhaps my understanding is not up to speed, and it might be a similar question to the one before. But what about the option of maintaining the joint venture by paying the settlement money as well? Did you consider such an option? Answer. I don't know if I should be responding to this question, but let me try. No, the numbers were elaborated for both companies. Before. It took time to come to this stage. In order to reach the same stage, we had to make progress in terms of the construction work. And as Mr. Nishiyama has already explained today, why this is good for management should be considered as well. MHI's view may not be the same as us. The use of management resources will differ between the two companies. There were different options that we have considered over time. Both companies' strategies was the base in terms of money as well as stock as well. And based on that, we have come to this conclusion. In terms of responding to your questions, we have exhausted all the options in terms of consideration. And the use of capital as well as the allocation of funding for Hitachi as best course was decided on the part of MHI. They have come to the conclusion based on their what is good for them. Question: you mentioned that EPC is very difficult in terms of the overseas projects. So is that the case for all energy business, or is it Hitachi being more prudent for overseas EPC projects? Please elaborate. Answer: in the past, we had significant red ink in large EPC projects. For example, power grid business is a good case in point. We provided equipment, did the installment, construction work was provided. But in terms of thermal power as well as nuclear power, for the projects that we have withdrawn in the past are mainly EPC projects. Compared to that, what we are trying to pursue going forward is a smaller portion. Therefore, it would be easier to control for us. That is the type of business we will be focused on going forward. Construction and civil works in the EPC projects, which are large scale, will be avoided. That is the policy we will be pursuing in terms of chemical plants overseas, as well as a nuclear power plant business in the UK. These are major EPC projects, and we want to distance ourselves from such large projects. So that is the policy we have been implementing so far. Question: so it is not just limited to energy business. So for the plant business overall, you are going to be more prudent on the part of Hitachi for large projects. Answer: ABB that will be acquired, the power grid business is such that it was a good example. In the past, we had the offshore EPC wind, and that has been subject to red ink. But in the case of ABB, we have reduced this type of business, and we will be taking projects that is onshore rather than offshore, where risk is smaller. And therefore, we are being very careful in the selection and the operation of these projects.
Any other questions? Yes, gentlemen at the center, please. Question. Thank you for the explanation. So you will have base your business centering on Lumada going forward. So just to be sure, for nuclear, you will use Lumada to expand business. Is that the kind of model you are thinking of? Or is this more for the country, for the people in the country? Is it for a bigger cause? If you could elaborate on that, please. Answer. Very difficult question. The business Hitachi does is called social innovation. So basically, of course, profit is important, but from investors' point of view, return, of course, it's a business, so we have to focus on that. But we want to focus on social business with social significance. And so if nuclear is needed, then yes, Hitachi will work hard on that. That's our vision on nuclear. So how is it related to Lumada? Complex plants have big room for digital to come in, to utilize digital. For example, in nuclear power generation, we can link it with the user side to have it used efficiently. Then it's digital that can come into play. So the basic components are necessary, but we should not make redundant production or use it for 24 hours, or there may be some excess or some in shortage. So digital is necessary. So energy and digital are very close. And I'm not just limiting myself to nuclear. So that's why we acquired power grid business. So equipping it with digital is extremely significant. It will grow so fast. So the answer to your question is, why nuclear? It's not just nuclear. Hitachi's business has social mission. So, and those complex systems are the ones that can really utilize digital. Thank you. Question. You sold the healthcare business, but the heavy particle therapy part you still retain. So you retain it because of the same reason you just explained? Could you elaborate? I think I've said this before, but there are cancers that only this can cure. And we've been treating so many people, allowing them to come back to the society. And it has very little damage on the patients. So you may think, why we sell some, why we retain this. But healthcare is not something we should do in general. We want to focus on what we have strength in. So that's our aim this time. So I may not be the right person to explain this, but some components will remain in Hitachi. So my answer to your question is, it's a thin, fine beam and to cure with very little invasiveness. And this can be combined with AI, which is the strength of Hitachi. So that's why. Thank you. So regarding the healthcare business that we are keeping, healthcare is one of our core businesses. So the businesses we keep are the in vitro diagnosis that will allow the detection of the disease, or the PBT, proton beam therapy, less invasion, and the cell production for regenerative medicine, and the medical data analysis to improve the informatics, to improve the efficiency. We have strong technology there, and we can expect the market to grow. So this is one of our core businesses that we will focus on going forward. Thank you very much.
それではその後ろの男性の方お願いします。
Next question, please. Question. First question is regarding the diagnostic imaging related business. What is the impact of cash? In the presentation material, page 3, the information is provided. It seems that the tax has not been explained. So please give me the net impact. Regarding the diagnostic imaging related business for 2020, in the second quarter, we will have closing of this transaction. Therefore, we are only showing the impact on the fiscal year 2019. That is the reason why there's no information regarding the diagnostic imaging related business. Let me give you some information. In terms of P&L, there will be proceeds from sales, 174 billion, and the enterprise value is 178 billion. And as already explained to you, there will be 5 billion in terms of net cash, or rather net debt, 5 billion is being assumed. That means that 174 billion is the proceeds, and the book value is 63 billion. Operating income level is 111 billion, and tax will be subtracted to the tune of 21 billion. Net income level for 2020. Bottom line impact will be 90 billion yen. In terms of cash, there will be 174 billion in terms of proceeds, and 6 billion will be subtracted. Net cash in will be 168 billion. Assumed. Thank you. Question number 2 is relating to the South Africa project. I don't know if my memory is correct, but it seems that when MHPS was embarked upon, I understood that it's not going to go on the balance sheet because the price was not decided upon integration in terms of P&L as well as VS for Hitachi. I believe that there was impact of the South Africa project, but now with 100% transfer, does it mean that it is already no risk now? Answer. Regarding MHPS, when it was established as a South Africa project, the profit and loss was very close to break-even, according to our assumption. At that time, significant loss was not expected. Therefore, as we transfer the business, all the assets and liabilities will be transferred. Therefore, there will be no residual risk relating to this project. Question. The impact of asset is very limited. It does not involve cash. On the balance sheet for the South Africa project, in terms of profit and loss and balance sheet, I understand that the asset has already been posted. Regarding MHPS, we are going to transfer the business. Therefore, there is nothing remaining relating to the South Africa project anymore. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we would like to close the briefing for today. Thank you very much again for your attendance.